Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. Today we'll be watching a video on Quizzette 723. As always, please make sure that you write your last name, comma, first name, today's date, and circle the appropriate class color. So today I'll circle that I'm blue. Number 1, 2, and 3 are the same for each day. You're going to have to convert a ratio into a fraction. And you are going to be required to convert that fraction into a decimal in number 2. Remember that the fraction bar means division, so you just divide the numerator by the denominator. 4 does not go into 3 evenly, hence you have to start the decimal process. 4 goes into 30, let's see, 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. You have 2 left over. Bring down the 0. And again, I want you to go at least to the thousands place, so that's 3 digits. And in this case, you only have to go to the hundreds place. So, because 5 times 4 is 20. So, you stop. If it didn't stop there, you would go one more digit so that you had the thousands place. But this is sufficient enough. For number 3, the way you convert a decimal into a fraction is you just write your decimal. And you move the decimal place 2 places to the right. And instead of putting a decimal there, you put the percentage symbol. So 75 hundredths, which is how you say that decimal, 0.75, 75 hundredths, is just 75%. So just a note on the side, 3/4 equals 0.75 or 75 hundredths, and that's also equivalent to 75%. Number 4, each day is going to ask you to solve and graph the inequality. And I also want you to write the statement. So make sure that you also give me the statement. Let's go ahead and solve this. Remember I told you that when there's a negative in front of the variable, you have to flip the sign of the inequality. Okay, so if you look at number 4 on Monday, there is indeed a negative in front of the variable. That's technically a -1. When there is a negative number, and this is technically -1, when there's a negative number in front of the variable, this inequality has to flip. So let's just rewrite it. So now we have -1 x minus 3, and then flip the inequality, and then keep all the numbers the same. All right, now same thing, we have to isolate the variable. What's keeping it from being by itself? That -3, so let's add 3. And this is $3, so you could just put 3.0 on that side. It's the same thing. This is a 0 pair, and now I have -1x. And let's see, $5.50 plus $3 is $8.50. Now I have to get rid of the -1. There cannot be a number in front of the variable. 1 is acceptable. That's the only acceptable number that can be in front of x. But this is not 1. This is -1. So -1 is being multiplied. The opposite of multiplying by -1 is dividing by -1. What you do on one side, you do to the other. -1 divided by -1 is actually +1. And that's the only acceptable number that we can have in front of the variable. So now we have x is less than or equal to 8.5 divided by -1 is -8.5. Now that is your answer. Go ahead and write your statement on the side. X is less than or equal to -8.5. Now I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to plot 8.5 on -8.5, and it's going to be a closed circle. Closed circle because it has the equal sign, because a mystery number could be equal to -8.5, so it's a closed circle. And then it is pointing, this arrow is pointing to the left, or you just think of the numbers that are less than -8.5, and the numbers that are less than -8.5 are all the numbers to the left. So I'm going to shade to the left. Make sure you could really tell that that's a circle right there. Now, if there is not a negative in front of the variable, You just solve it like an equation. Solve it like an equation. I'm going to actually look at number 4 for Thursday and Friday to get a better idea. Let's see. Yeah, see, so number 4, this one has a negative in front of the variable, so this has to flip. Just make sure you flip it. And same with Friday, you have to flip the inequality. Just flip it, okay? You still keep the negative, but at the last step, you do have to divide by -2. All right, back to Thursday. Sorry, back to Monday, number 5. It says find the sum equivalent to -5 times the quantity 2g plus 1. That's just a distributive property. You're already used to this. 2 arrows because there's 2 terms on the inside. -5 times 2g is -10g. -5 times +1 is -5. Or you can write -10g plus -5. Those are equivalent. You can write either one. Number 6, add 3x plus 2 plus 6x plus 4. I can just drop the parentheses because there's not a number outside this parentheses, and there are no negatives or subtraction in front of those parentheses. So I can literally just drop the parentheses and combine like terms. So 3x plus 6x is 9x, and 2 plus 4 is 6. That's your answer. Now, number 6 on Tuesday, you can see that there's a negative right here, -1. Remember, -1 is just the inverse of the terms on the inside. So in this case, it would be -4x and then +5. You just ask yourself, what's the opposite of 4x is -4x. What's the opposite of -5? +5. Or you can do -1 times 4x, -4x. -1 times -5 is +5. And then this one, there's no number in front of it. There's no negative in front of it, so you could just keep it the same. So you could just write 2x plus 7. Now, I'm going to also do this one for you. You got to combine -4 and 2x, and then 7 and +5. And you guys can go ahead and do that on your own, now that I've broken it down into almost like an elementary question, but there you go.